Today's reading is part one of Vanishing Act, a short story in the collection Stranger Things Happen by Kelly Link. The three of them were sitting in a boat. When she closed her eyes, she could almost picture it. A man and a woman and a girl in a green boat on green water. Her mother had written that the water was an impossible color. She imagined the mint color of the Harmon's Tupperware. But what did the boat look like? Was it green? How she wished her mother had described the boat. The boat refused to settle on the water. It was too buoyant, sliding along the mint surface like a raindrop on a pane of glass. It had no keel, no sail, no oars. And, if they fell in, no life jackets. At least she knew of none. The man and the woman, unaware, smiled at each other over the head of the girl, and the girl was holding on to both sides of the boat for dear life, holding it intact and upright on the tilting Tupperware-colored water. She realized that not only had the boat been left out of the letter, after so long she could hardly trust her parents to resemble her memories of them. That was a great tragedy. The inconvenient unseaworthiness of memories and boats and letters, that events never remain themselves long enough for you to insert yourself into them. The girl fell out of the boat into the green water. Was it cold? She didn't know. Hildegard and Myron are spying on Hildy's cousin Jenny Rose. It is Thursday afternoon, October the 5th, 1970, and Jenny Rose is lying on her bed in the room she shares with Hildy. She hasn't moved once in the 15 minutes that Hildy and Myron have been watching her. Hildy can't explain why she watches Jenny Rose. Jenny Rose never picks her nose or bursts into tears. She mostly lies on her bed with her eyes closed, but not asleep. She's the same age as Hildy, 10, and an utter freak. Myron says, "I think she's dead," and Hildy snorts. "I can see her breathing," she says, handing him the binoculars. "Is she asleep, then?" "I don't think so," Hildy says, considering. "I think she just turns herself off, like a TV or something." They are sitting in the gazebo that Hildy's older brother James made in woodworking the year before. The gazebo is homely and ramshackle. The white paint has peeled away in strips, and bees float in the warm air above their heads. With the aid of a borrowed set of binoculars, Hildy and Myron can spy privately upon Jenny Rose upon her bed. Hildy picks at the paint and keeps an eye out for James as well, who considers the gazebo to be exclusively his. The three of them sat in the boat on the water. They weren't necessarily people, and it wasn't necessarily a boat either. It could be 3 knots tied in her shoelace, 3 tubes of lipstick hidden in Hildy's dresser, 3 pieces of fruit, 3 oranges in the blue bowl beside her bed. What was important, what she yearned for, was the Trinity, the triangle completed and without lack. She lay on the bed, imagining this, the 3 of them in the boat upon the water. Oh, sweet to taste. Jenny Rose is the most monosyllabic, monochromatic person Hildy has ever laid eyes on. She's no-colored, like a glass of skim milk or a piece of chewed string. Lank hair of indeterminate length, skin neither pale nor sunny, and washed-out no-color eyes. She's neither tall nor short, fat nor skinny. She smells weird, sad, electric, like rain on asphalt. Does she resemble her parents? Hildy isn't sure, but Jenny Rose has nothing of Hildy's family. Hildy's mother is tall and glamorous with red hair. Hildy's mother is a Presbyterian minister. Her father teaches at the university. The Reverend Molly Harmon's brother and sister-in-law have been missionaries in the Pacific since before Hildy and Jenny Rose were born. When Hildy was little, the adventures of her cousin were like an exotic and mysterious bedtime story. She used to wish she was Jenny Rose. During the 1965 coup in Indonesia, Hildy's aunt and uncle and Jenny Rose spent a few months in hiding and then a short time in prison, suspected of being communist sympathizers. This is the way the rumors went. They were dead. They were hidden in Ubud in the house of a man named Neoman. They were in prison in Jakarta. They had been released. They were safely in Singapore. Hildy always knew that Jenny Rose would be fine. Stories have happy endings. She still believes this. Jenny Rose was in Singapore for the next 4.5 years. When her parents went back to Indonesia, it was proposed that Jenny Rose would come to stay with the Harmons in order to receive a secondary school education. Hildy helped her mother prepare for the arrival of her cousin. She went to the library and found a book on Indonesia. She went shopping with her mother for a second bed and a second desk, extra clothes, hangers, and sheets. The day before her cousin arrived, Hildy used a ruler, divided her room into 2 equal halves. Hildy hugged Jenny Rose at the airport, breathed her in, that strange hot and cold smell. She hauled Jenny Rose's luggage to the car single-handedly. "What is Indonesia like?" she asked her cousin. "Hot," Jenny Rose said. She closed her eyes, leaned her head against the back of the car, and for the next 3 weeks said nothing that required more than 1 syllable. So far, the most meaningful words her cousin had spoken to Hildy are these: "I think I wet the bed." "Give her time," Hildy's mother advised, putting the sheets into the washer. "She's homesick." "How can she be homesick?" Hildy said. "She's never lived in a single place for longer than a year." "You know what I mean," said the Reverend Molly Harmon. "She misses her parents. She's never been away from them before. How would you like it if I sent you to live on the other side of the world?" "It wouldn't turn me into a mute, stunted turnip person," Hildy said. "But she thinks she understands." She read the library book. Who wouldn't prefer the emerald jungles of Bali to the suburbs of Houston, the intricate glide and shadow jerk of wayang kulit puppets on a horn screen to the dollar matinee, nasi goreng to a McDonald's hamburger? Hildy and Myron come inside to make hot chocolate and play ping-pong. They go to Hildy and Jenny Rose's room first, and Myron stands over Jenny Rose on her bed, trying to make conversation. "Hey, Sleeping Beauty, what you doing?" he says. "Nothing." He tries again. "Would you like to play ping-pong with us?" "No." Her eyes don't even open as she speaks. There is a bowl of oranges on the night table. Myron picks one up and begins to peel it with his thumbnail. Jenny Rose's eyelids open, and she jackknifes into a sitting position. "Those are my oranges," she says, louder than Hildy has ever heard her speak. "Hey," Myron says, backing up and cradling the orange in his palm. He is afraid of Jenny Rose, Hildy realizes. "It's just an orange. I'm hungry. I didn't mean anything." Hildy intervenes. "There are more in the refrigerator," she says diplomatically. "You can replace that one, if it's such a big deal." "I wanted that one," Jenny Rose says, more softly. "What's so special about that orange?" Myron says. Jenny Rose doesn't say anything. Hildy stares at her, and Jenny Rose stares without expression at the orange in Myron's hand. The front door bangs open, and James, the Reverend Harmon, and Dr. Orzabal are home. Myron's mother, Mercy Orzabal, is a professor of English and a close friend of the Harmons. She is divorced and teaches night classes. Myron spends a lot of time at the Harmons under the harried attention of Hildy's mother, known as the Reverend Mother. This afternoon was a wedding, and the Reverend Mother is still in the white robes of a divine. The R.M. and Mercy Orzabal in her sleeveless white dress look like geese or angels. James is wearing black. James is almost 17 years old, and he hates his family, which is all right. Hildy doesn't care much for him. His face is sullen, but this is his usual expression. His hair is getting long. His hair is red like his mother's hair. How Hildy wishes that she had red hair. A cigarette dangles from the lips of the Reverend Mother. She's reached an agreement with Hildy. 2 cigarettes on weekdays, 4 on Saturday, and none on Sunday. Hildy hates the smell, but loves the way the afternoon light falters and falls thickly through the smoke around her mother's beautiful face. "Do we have any more oranges?" Hildy asks her mother. Myron ate Jenny Rose's. There are several in the refrigerator. When Hildy looks, she picks out the one that is the most shriveled and puny. She tells herself that she feels sorry for this orange. Jenny Rose will take good care of it. The good oranges are for eating. Jenny Rose has followed Myron and Hildy. She stands just inside the doorway. "Oh, Jenny," says Reverend Mother, as if surprised to find her niece there in her kitchen. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Jenny Rose says something inaudible as she takes the orange from Hildy. The R.M. has turned away already and is tapping her ash into the kitchen sink. Hildy retrieves 3 more oranges out of the refrigerator. She juggles them, smacking them in her palms, tossing them up again. "Hey, look at me!" James rolls his eyes. The mothers and Myron applaud dutifully. Hildy looks, but Jenny Rose has left the room. Hildy plays ping-pong in the basement every night with her father, uncrowned ping-pong champion of the world. He tells silly jokes as he serves to make Hildy miss her return. "What's brown and sticky?" he says. "A stick." When Hildy groans, he winks at her. "You can't disguise it," he says. "I know you think I'm the handsomest man in the world, the funniest man in the world, the smartest man in the whole world." "Yeah, right," Hildy tells him. The sight of his white teeth across the table, floating in the mild, round, pink expanse of his face, makes her sad for a moment, as if she is traveling a great distance away, leaving her father pinned down under the great weight of that distance. "You're silly." She spins the ball fast across the net. "That's what all the ladies tell me," he says. "The silliest man in the world. That's me." The basement is Hildy's favorite room in the whole house, now that Jenny Rose has taken over her bedroom. The walls are a cheerful yellow, and fat stripy plants and macrame hangers dangle from the ceiling like green and white snakes. Hildy lobs a ping-pong ball into the macrame holders. It takes more effort to retrieve these balls than it does to place them, and at night, when Hildy watches television in the basement, the ping-pong balls glow with reflected TV light like tiny moons and satellites. She lets her father beat her in the next game, and when he goes back upstairs, she ducks under the table. This is where Hildy sits whenever she needs to think. This is where she and Myron do their homework, cross-legged on the linoleum floor of their own personal cave. Myron is better at social studies, but Hildy is better at math. Hildy is better at spying on Jenny Rose. She shifts on the cold linoleum floor. She is better at hiding than her cousin. No one can spy on her under the table, although she can see anyone who comes into the basement. She has learned to identify people from the waist down. Brown corduroy would be her father. James and Myron wear blue jeans. Her mother's feet are very small. The R.M. never wears shoes in the house, and her toenails are always red, like 10 cherries in a row. Hildy doesn't need to remember Jenny Rose's legs or toes. She would know her cousin by the absolute stillness. Jenny Rose's legs would suddenly appear above 2 noiseless feet, pale and otherworldly as 2 ghost trees. Hildy imagines jumping out from under the table, yelling "Boo!" Jenny Rose would have to see her then, but would she see Jenny Rose? Last night at dinner, the R.M. set 4 places at the table. The blue plate for James, red for Hildy, orange for her husband, purple for herself. The R.M. likes routine, and her family accommodates. No one would ever eat off the wrong-colored plate. Surely the food would not taste the same. Hildy set a 5th place, yellow for Jenny Rose, while her mother was in the kitchen and retrieved the 5th chair with the wobbly leg from her mother's study. She did these things without saying anything. It seemed unthinkable to say anything to the R.M., who in any case neither noticed her error nor saw that it had been corrected. At dinner, Jenny Rose did not speak. She hardly ate. No one spoke to her, and it seemed to Hildy that no one even noticed her cousin. She was as invisible as Hildy is now under the green roof of the ping-pong table. She almost feels sorry for Jenny Rose. Jenny Rose's parents write her every week. Hildy knows this because Jenny Rose donates the stamps to Mr. Harmon's stamp collection. Her father currently has 18 stamps, neatly cut out of the airmail envelopes lying on his desk in the basement. As for the letters themselves, they are limp and wrinkled, like old pairs of cotillion gloves. They are skinny as feathers and light, and Jenny Rose receives them indifferently. They disappear, and when the R.M. or Mr. Harmon asks, "How are your parents doing?" Jenny Rose says, "They're fine," and that's that.